part of being a good beginner is actually just minimizing mistakes, because most beginners actually just give points away. The other team doesn't win them.
They don't.
If you want to be a better beginner player,
what do you need to get to the next level and to find success?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's just everything's harder when you move up a level. You think you figured it out at 4.0, and then you go to 4.5 and you're like, oh shoot,
I don't know anything.
Yeah, I don't know anything. And then because you're like telling your friends like, this is how you have to play, and that doesn't work at 4.5 or whatever. Then you go to 4.5, same thing. 5.0, the game's faster, or people are under control more. And then you start playing pro events. And the first pro event I ever played was at the Atlanta Open. And I was so excited. I looked at the bracket the night before and playing Jesse Irvin and Kyle Yates. And I'm like, yo. And so I wrote a newsletter the night before. I think it came out because I think we were playing Friday. It went out Thursday night. I took a screenshot of the bracket and I wrote a newsletter predicting what was going to happen. I'm like, it's my first pro tournament. We're playing 5.0 mixed, and we're going to be playing pro mixed. We're playing pro mixed on Friday. 5.0, kind of wish it was the other way around. But anyway, so here we go. We're probably it's going to be the upset of the tournament. Like, there's no question about it.
Did you actually say that?
Well, I predicted. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I said, I was like, this is going to be the upset. And like, I'm going, because what else are you going to believe? Like, I'm going to go in and lose.
Right, exactly.
Then, I mean, your chances of winning go way down if you think that. So I go in and we're like warming up on center court. It's like an 8 a.m. match, and me and playing with Jennifer Tavernier, just a great player, love playing with her. And we're warming up, and then all of a sudden Kyle and Jesse are there, and they're warming up, and like I'm still fresher, and I kind of look at these players as like this is amazing. Like, I'm not looking at them as equals, but still I had the prediction the night before, so like we're definitely winning this match. So they're going up, and I try to like say hi to Kyle, and Kyle's like, what's up? I try to say hi to Jessie. She's so intense and focused, she doesn't really talk to me. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna crush her, right? So then we're about to start the match, but there's no refs, so we're like, what the heck? All of a sudden they say, hey, your match is actually second on center. Like, we've been warming up for 20 minutes getting ready to go. So we step off, and like Catherine Parento is about to come on, and Riley shows up late. He's playing like Kushmiter and maybe Salome or somebody else. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And so Riley shows up. He like does one stretch, and he goes out there, and they win or whatever. And I'm like, so that's how you become the best. You just show up late. show up late, do one stretch. I think they went down like 2-6 or something, but they came back. And so now we're sitting watching, and then we go back on court to start. And again, predictions in my head. I'm like, we are winning this. Like, come on, we're going to win this match. There's like, it's center court, 9 a.m. or 8:30, whatever time it was. And there's not that many fans, but I'm still feeling nervous because that center court at Atlanta is like kind of daunting. Yeah. And we go out there, and we lose 11-0, 11-0. I mean, just as I predicted. Just as I predicted. So I didn't write a newsletter for 3 weeks. No, but then here's the learning from it. Like, what was the hardest thing about that match? Well, I remember I walked away from that match, and I was like, wow, it was really hard to get to the kitchen. Oh, wow. They sped up every ball at us that they could. Right. And those were two things that I learned from that first pro match. And those two things actually still apply very much at the pro level, where I actually played against Riley and Jesse last weekend. And then I played against Riley and Matt the next day. I'll talk about that in a second. But getting to the kitchen is very difficult at the highest level. And like it gets more difficult the higher you go. But like, what do you have to do? Well, you have to hit a decent third. Well, okay, say you don't have a decent third, which is fine. Well, number one, you need to miss it high so you have a chance, because you miss into the net, points over. Yeah. Right. And then the next thing is you got to be good in transition. So you got to be able to hit a fifth. And hit a reset ball and get up to the kitchen. You're not going to win a lot of points against Riley and Matt or Kyle and Jesse being at the baseline where they're both at the kitchen. Mm-hmm. Right. And so we couldn't get to the kitchen, and there was quick side outs. And then we had like the occasional, I think we got a few side outs on their serve, because it's easier because we're returning, we're at the kitchen line. But even still, what happened when we were returning is, if you don't return it deep, you get punished. All right, they're going to rip the ball at you. So people are like, how do you beat these bangers? Well, the number one thing to beat a banger is actually to return the ball deep, which is something I'm working on a lot right now, is getting better at returns. Yeah. And so if you return it short, it's teed up for them. And then especially in like, if you're playing, your partner's getting crushed, right? So if you hit a short return, they're going to rip it at your partner, or they're going to rip it at you coming in. It's more difficult. But let's say I hit a good return, or we hit a good return. Well, they're getting to the kitchen every time. Yeah. Because they're really good in transition. But then when you get to the kitchen, now it's like that's game one. Do you get to the kitchen? So they got to the kitchen. That's like win one. Phase one. Then phase two would be like, okay, now what happens at the kitchen? And what happened in that match, and it's happened in a bunch of pro matches where I've played against Riley a few times now, I'll talk about that, but if they have any type of dead dink, and a dead dink is a ball that sits a little bit, right? It sits a little high, or it's soft, and it can
not a lot of spin.
They have time, and they have space to make a decision. That ball is being sped up at you. right? And here's why. Number one, because that's what they're going to do a lot of times against any newer pro or anybody they don't think belongs, because they don't want to be playing some long 45-minute match in round one. They want to just get off the court, rest their legs, because they're playing, like Riley and Jesse, they're going to be playing Anna Lee and Ben later, right? So they're like, let's get this over with. And they're saying, I have better hands than you. That's like their mindset, right? So that happened with Jesse and Kyle. And then I played, Riley and Matt, and it's still a challenge for me right now. In the Masters, this was a few weekends ago, or last weekend, but depending on when you listen to this, where me and Jennifer, we played again. We got through the qualifiers. We won 3 matches, tough matches. Like we won our 3rd qualifier match in 3 games, like 12-10 against like Moo. I don't know if you guys know Moo and Jenna Klett. And like they're great players. It was a tough match. So we had to get there at 7. This is like this new format PPA has, where you gotta, if you're entering pro and you're not a PPA player or like somebody that just kind of gets into the main draw, you show up at 7 a.m. I'm not sure if this is how it will be all year, but it is right now. Show up at 7 a.m. You play 2 or 3 qualifier matches depending on, you have to win them all. So me and Jennifer played 3 matches. I think there was like 20-something teams. I think 2 got out. Okay, so we got out of the qualifiers. That was an accomplishment. And then you get rewarded by either playing Ben and Anna Lee or Riley and Jesse or whoever Riley's playing with. And so we got to play them. And it was similar. Like we had trouble getting to the kitchen. Here's the other thing. Here's why it's so hard to get to the kitchen. One, if you hit a high third, it's obvious. They're just like pounding it at you, right? But let's say you hit a pretty good third, that your third shot drop is a little like high, but it bounces. Well, Riley is one of the best at applying pressure on his 4th shot. So he hits a serve. I hit my, I hit my serve. He hits a return. Now I drop it. Now his 4th shot is, he's trying to take it out of the air if he can, but if he can't, he's gonna keep you back as long. So he's gonna make you hit a difficult 5th, and that's a much different thing than 5-0.
On his 4th, what is it the placement of it? Is it the speed of it? Is it both?
You nailed it. You know what I mean? Like, but it is. It's like, but Riley's so good. I mean, he's like arguably the best player in the world. Him and Ben probably are. So he's picking a great spot. And if you're off balance, you're done, because you're either hitting into the net out or you pop it up. And it's not always power. Like pickleball is so much about placement, and me and Craig were talking about it. I got a chance to play rec with Anna Lee a few days ago. She was in town for the Major League Pickleball, and we played. I mean, she smokes the ball. And so you think of her as like someone just smokes it. But there's a lot of times where she doesn't smoke it like a speed up. She just hits it in a great spot. Yeah. Right? And then she smokes the next ball. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I'm learning, is there's so many things to learn. How do you apply pressure on your 4th, but also then in transition? And so if I could encapsulate all this. And the same thing happened the next day when I played with this guy named Michael Lloyd, he's an unbelievable player. We played out tournaments together. And we made it through qualifiers. Then we played Matt and Riley and like speed up every ball. It's hard to get to the kitchen. I wasn't dropping very well. And also you're just nervous. You're playing like one of the best teams in the world. Your drops are going to be a little bit. So there's a component of that. So what am I learning? Well, I'm learning 1, I'm really working on returning the ball better. And number 2, I'm always working on transition, right? And then, because if you can't even get the transition, you can be practicing dinks all day, whatever. Right?
Yeah, you didn't get to hit a dink.
Yeah. Right? You could be practicing like the Yates speed up all day, whatever. Yep. Right? You could be practicing your speed ups and your hand speed all day, whatever. Yep. Right? Because you're never going to get there. Of course, it might work some on the return because you're already at the kitchen, but I'm working on those things. And then the other thing is just like belief. I'll tell you one more story. I was playing at Newport with Jen Tavernier again, and this was last year. And who do we play in the first round? In the first round, we played. Gosh, I can't. Who did we freaking play? We lost our first round against. Played Thomas and Leia in the second. Oh, okay. We played Colin and Sierra. Colin Johns and Sierra Gate and Leach. 2 good players, right? And we went down like 1-6. We ended up losing like 8 and 9. And then that was a good loss. We were like, oh, we played them pretty well. Those are 2 good players, right? Yeah. So I got a little confidence. But before that match, I woke up that morning and I was just like, F them, everybody. I'm just like, F them. I'm just like, screw it. Because how are we ever going to beat anybody if you don't believe you're going to beat them? And I think to get to the highest level, you still got to start to believe that. And I'm trying to work on my belief right now, because my behaviors, I believe, are pretty right. My behaviors are, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to train, I'm going to try to keep my body right, I'm going to watch a lot of film because I love the game. I just love studying it. But my belief has to be better. And that's what I'm trying to like work on, that belief. The next match we played, Thomas Wilson and Leah Jansen. And again, I'm friends with Thomas. He's like one of the great guys in pickleball. And we get on the court, and I didn't really talk to him much. I said what's up to him, and then I didn't talk because I'm friends with him. I'm this content guy. People are like, oh, what's up, right? But most people don't know I play a lot. So I'm just in my head, I'm like, F him.
I'm gonna show him what's up.
And like Thomas is one of the nicest guys in pickleball.
Right. Yeah. And so, and the good news was Thomas and Leah just come off a tough match. So we're like, let's go. So we get up on them. We're up 11-6. And we end up losing 15-11. Right. And we were up 11-6. And for a time, like Jennifer was playing out of her mind. I was playing like great hands and like she's resetting everything. We're at the kitchen. We're getting to the kitchen. And we're better players than them at this point in this game. Right.
Yeah.
But then they were calm. They did their thing. I mean, I don't know if we really believe we could win because that whole tournament was like the tournament of almost where we lost. And then in the next day we played men's. We played Wyatt Stone and we played, and I'll finish on this, we played Wyatt Stone and we played Brandon French, and we lost 11-5 in the third, right? And again, like, I don't know. I mean, I think we believe we could win, but did we really? And then the final one was the next match we played Hayden Patrick Quinn and Julian Arnold. And we were up, I think we were up like 12-7 or something, right? And we end up losing 15. And Julian starts on Diamoing and stuff. And so
that's how you know you've made it.
Oh, that's right. I made it. And so then we end up losing 15-12. And again, the almost. So like this belief. So if I had to summarize into three things, it's like, how's your transition game? Can you get to the kitchen? And maybe it's just really, that's one of the main things. Can you get to the kitchen and can you do things around the kitchen? And then, and like when I say do things, like create opportunities. Or just not screw up, like not pop the ball up. Like at beginner levels, part of being a good beginner is actually just minimizing mistakes because most beginners actually just give points away. The other team doesn't win them.
They don't.
If you want to be a better beginner player, just hit the ball back in the court more because everyone's ripping the ball as hard as they can. It's going into the net. It's going up into the sky. Just like work on hitting it to where they're not or hitting it.
I mean, honestly, even up to probably almost 4 or 5. Yeah. I think that's how most of it is.
It goes back to what I always thought and said. I think like 4 and below, it's whoever makes the most mistakes loses. 4-5 and up to maybe like 5-0, whoever can capitalize on the most mistakes wins. And then 5-0 plus, it's whoever can create opportunities wins.
And that's what I've been noticing at the pro level as well. So I'm writing a newsletter about this right now, actually, which is just like my improvement flatlining and just trying to figure out what's next. I think we all are trying to do that. And I still think I'm a little ways away, but I see there's potential. And I mean, my goal is like to be a top 50 player by the end of the year. That's just kind of a vision I have for myself. Who knows if that's, but all I can do, I can say those words, but all I can do is wake up every day and try to work to become that thing. Yeah. Right. And then see what happens at the end of it.
Yeah. Well, that work and consistency turns into belief